So the first two little clips described how animals are really instinct driven. I know this is pretty basic stuff, and it certainly doesn't describe every animal or account for everything or anything like that. But when I get to the ultimate point, I think you'll see why I brought this up. So yeah, animals tend to are driven by instinct. It's time to go butt horns with these rams because one of us, and only one of us, is going to get the lady ram to mate with. Or it's time to hop out of the tree and grab that uh, antelope so that this lion can eat and doesn't think about much else. I mean, lions and snakes and whatever can put off food for quite a while, and they could pass up meals on the way. But something gets in their mind that says, "Hey, I'm too tired," or "It's too dangerous," But I mean, they're probably not really thinking about that so much. It all just kind of feeds into their instinct. But there's still a little something going on there. I mean, it just happens really quick. Could be part of the difference. So that when it slows down and we look at the choices, where we would say, "Oh, well, I'm really hungry and my energy's low. I don't think I'm going to be able to catch that antelope. I stand a good chance of getting hurt. If I do catch it, someone's going to steal it from me. I'm not even going to get to eat it. I might as well just wait for a better option." This is where the difference between instincts and being conscious and making decisions for yourself is not all that different. But eventually there becomes a difference because most animals don't really do a lot of the conscious thinking we do. Even when you look at like some smart like orca whales that can like spot a sea lion on some floating ice and swim by and use their tails to put waves in the water to make the ice little barge flip and make the sea lion fall over so they can eat it, or the other whales that swim around and blow air bubbles up to cordon off the krill so they can just come up and eat them. This is smart stuff. And they see what's going on and they're making choices. But it's not exactly like they are aiming at having an empty mind most of the time that sees two different options, weighs one, and doesn't just do things for survival. All those things we talked about were strictly for survival. On the other hand, humans may make decisions for survival that they don't even know what they're doing. Like, take this for an example. So say you got this big, like, person. He's not altogether muscular, but there's, a lot of them around. They're just bigger people. And then there's some smaller people who are quite muscular. They're quite muscular and they're pretty strong. They're not as strong as the big people. They can't reach up like the big people. The big people tend to win fights, but the smaller people do have the strength and this kind of muscle that they always carry generally. So, you would think, well, the ladies like the big guys, so it's just too bad for the smaller guys. But if the ladies didn't do that, then they start doing it with the big guys and the little guys and having babies with both. Then they start to realize this: hey, when I get the little guy's muscles with the big guy, I'm starting to get a bigger guy that's actually got muscles. And so, life presents each of us, and rarely is there something. I mean, usually there's some good quality in each of us, at least, that, people might not recognize. That doesn't mean it's there. It just means people aren't quite really that bright. And we're only getting smarter by, maybe if you smart people started having more babies with dumb people, they'd realize, well, these dumb people, they don't think a lot and stuff, but that's right, they don't think a lot. And I really have a peaceful mind, and it's big and spacious, and since I'm bringing in this kind of ability to think, and they're bringing in this kind of ability to keep calm and quiet, we really work well together. And I never would have been this productive had I had another smart person for a parent, and our brains are always going haywire. So you never really can tell what's good, um, in terms of what evolution or what this has to do with instincts and choices is ours. I mean, you can make choices, um, but you don't always know what's best. But if you have an open mind and you're not driven by instinct, like the instinct might be just get the big guys because they tend to provide more food for us. But then if you had gotten some of the small guys too, then those big guys would really be able to provide. Everyone would turn out to be a little bigger and a little stronger, and it would be better for everyone. But you have to be able to see both those choices and know that those are choices, and know that putting them together is a choice. Whereas the instinct might not give you that option. So humans, hopefully we can, our brains are quiet, empty. We can see choices, recognize that they're choices of the same thing. Like I said, walking around the mountain. Recognize that that survival of the fittest kind of stuff. Like, is my beak long enough to get to the worms that are in the tree? No, my beak's not long enough, so I'm not gonna eat, and I can't have any babies, and I'm gonna die. That's very strict animal ways, whereas humans really can make decisions. And maybe it's like, oh, you don't have a big beak, but those guys with the big beaks, they can't really kiss me on the mouth, so why don't you come kiss me, little big bird? I love you, and so let's have our babies, and I'll go get the food for us. Or since you have such nice lips, you can actually go down to the river and catch worms in the mud, and their beaks get stuck in the mud, so I'll show you how to do that. Anyways, the point is, instinct-driven animals don't tend to recognize choices. They only know what they need to do right now. Whereas hopefully conscious humans are driven more by the recognition of options and weighing those options. Really, if they can understand how to combine those options to come out ahead, and that's really what's going to get us there. And the strict survival of the fittest, or really what was the other term I would choose? Not survival of the fittest, but anyways, where like if you can't make babies, you're gonna die. You're not gonna be as healthy and attractive, and then you're not gonna make babies. Isn't really where humans have to be. I mean, we've become something else where we can think about things. So you have to begin to wonder, as a human being, is there any such thing for us and for intelligence as this determinative genetic position where you're not going to be able to have babies because you can't eat? Or does it just depend on how smart everyone else is out there to recognize the possibilities here? Because diversity is what works, right? Like today, perhaps I have asthma and I'm having a hard time breathing, but tomorrow there's this big star thing comes flying through the atmosphere, and now all of a sudden people that had asthma before can super breathe and can hold their breath for 20 minutes at a time and have no problems breathing, and they can even breathe in outer space and underwater. We just don't know all these things, but who wants to take that risk? But at least recognizing that there's some risk and there's some reward, and that's what I mean. It's not always going to boil down to whether you can actually eat and produce. Nothing is really like that in humans anymore. So I'll just finish this little segment by saying that it's good to recognize choices, And if you can recognize options, recognize choices, and you can exercise one, you can exercise the other. Sometimes those two, what seem like they're opposites, actually are going to feed into each other. And probably so, because they're both here. It's like, why would they both be here if they both couldn't do something good? And we always have to remember, you're never going to really know what today is just like whatever, and tomorrow can, with environmental change or whatnot, could really become a benefit. So the people that think they know this stuff and what's best for humans are probably, probably don't know. But if you just think a girl's hot and you want her to have your babies, well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's a lot of humans out there. We'll get it right, and no matter what, your DNA is going to go on in the human pool, especially with your families is very, very much like you. I mean, even like monkeys, your DNA is pretty much going to go on with them. And with the rest of the humans, it's very close. You're not, there's no dying out of the human pool. You're always part of it. Um, and anyone that's alive still are the ones that are about to die. So if you already died, you're not about to die. Someone else is. So anyways, make good choices, and even if you don't and you just want to do it with some hot people, that's okay too. I mean, it really doesn't really matter. And there's reasons we think people hide. Generally, it's just because they're simple, and there's nothing complicated like about their face. It's simple and symmetrical, because complicated, non-symmetrical faces indicate infections that you've had in the past and that you're not as healthy. So it's just stuff like this that tells our brain, oh, she's hot, gonna be a good lover, I'm gonna be good babies. But really, you're just finding out, no, they've never had infections, which is probably good. But maybe those things that cause infections no longer are. Maybe there's just some really simple treatment for those infections, or maybe, who knows? Maybe you were just put in a really bad situation, and now you have developed an immunity to whatever caused that infection. So it's really hard to tell these things, but as humans, hopefully we tend to rely less on instincts, immediate instincts, and rely more on finding the choices and evaluating options and going from there, and maybe even combining options to come up with something new.